Felix Kwakye Fosu, a minister in charge of government communications, and public accounts committee, or flow be a was seho, for putting some amano. We don't enjoy Padomini say, and a copy of public accounts committee at a point in a clash between MPP members now. Or more public accounts committee no. Abela was say sorry. Nanya izikura. High pampas media pacho. Click subscribe button. 010 on the notification. Say drop video biya on sa Ebeka. Yango share Felix Kwakye Fosu in charge of government communications. Okay.
Okay. And
it depends on the matters at hand. For instance, I'm briefed on some finding on a matter relating to alleged violation of the Procurement Act, for instance, in the sourcing of a company to service one of their machines. So I'm briefed on that. If it's a matter that comes up, I'll be able to speak to it.
Well, there's also a bit on their financial performance and financial position.
Yes, it keeps on sinusoidal. And we in government have expressed worry about the state of affairs at Graphic. Indeed, they've written a number of letters to me indicating that they are distressed financially. Part of it has to do with dwindling sales because of the challenge posed by new media and the dwindling reliance on newspapers for information. So that is affecting their operations. They have difficulties with their equipment also. It breaks down frequently, and therefore they are unable to meet some of the deadlines that they give to clients, and this results in loss of work. So there are a number of factors that we are seeking to address comprehensively in the whole government media organization ecosystem. So it is not really due to mismanagement or anything of the sort. It is just the realities of the time, which requires some reform in order to reposition them to return to profitability. Yeah.
Minister, I wish they were here to answer to the specifics in the accounts, because I would need certain explanation.
I expect them to be here before the session ends, so hopefully they should be here. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
you can handle the management issues, right?
Yes, he said that.
Then Honorable OPK will handle the management issue for Graphic on paragraph 1338.
Thank you very much, Senior Felix Akwaba.
Junior, if I'm permitted to respond.
Felix used to be my senior from primary school to JSS. Yeah, so, but today is my junior in Parliament. So, Senior, it has to do with some procurement that Graphic did, and they sole sourced it. In fact, reading the response from Graphic, I get the understanding that the company involved is a sole distributor of Kodak machines in West Africa.
That is so.
There was no other option left to them. So I want to find out from the auditors first, what do you have to say about this infraction? Because clearly they had no other option than to sole source.
Honorable Chair, that is exactly the response from the entity, and that is captured in the report. But I think that the committee would have to take a decision on it. We have indicated their response in the report, but as to whether that is justifiable or not, I think the committee can take a decision on that. Thank you.
So Felix, I think the challenge here is that even if you have to sole source, you still need the approval of PPA.
Absolutely.
And Graphic failed in seeking the approval of PPA in this regard. And I think it's something that they have gone against the law. I mean, sole sourcing still needs the approval of PPA. So with this, I'll leave it to Chairman to take a decision. It's a bit dicey. Yeah.
Oh yes. To the extent that there's a violation that is detected and their answers are not responsive The committee is at liberty to direct the next steps going forward. We will be happy to ensure that any such violation is cured at the level of government, yes. Yeah.
Honorable Minister, the recommendation of the auditors is for us to sanction under Section 92 of the Public Procurement Act, 2003, Act 663, as amended, should be applied to the head of the entity. We also recommended that management should always adhere to the provision in the Procurement Act, as stated above in all of its procurement activities. And the sanction is for us to recommend that it goes to the Attorney General for prosecution when it comes to procurement. They could have done something with PPA, and they chose not to do it. So Attorney General will let you know where your faith lies.
Well, very, very well, Mr. Chairman. As I indicated, as government, we are all for transparency and ensuring that these excesses in procurement are kept. So whatever action you deem fit will be accepted by us. Yeah.
Thank you very much. The other one is also on financials, GPAC. And the yes. And I guess apart from GPAC, and then the last question for Ghana News Agency, that's it that we have.
Minister, whilst we wait for graphic, I have so in recent times we've seen some good efforts from GTV, especially their online portals, trying very much to encourage people to pay their TV license. In fact, there's been a league table that shows members of parliament who have paid and those who are yet to pay. In fact, I've had constituents tag me, encouraging me to pay. I did mine somewhere in October, and it's an annual ritual for me. But 276 members of parliament, the money that GTV needs to run, this 60 cedis paid by MPs cannot sustain what GTV needs to operate. What is it that you are doing at the ministry to encourage people to pay their TV licenses? And I know that the TV license thing regime is governed by law. I mean, the television licensing regulations, as amended in 1991, encourages GBC or gives GBC the legal mandate to do that. But I'm also aware of a court ruling in 2018 that suspended GBC and its agent to not prosecute defaulters. What innovative ways are you bringing on board to ensure that GTV generates the needed resources in terms of the TV licensing so that they deliver effectively for us?
Thank you very much. But for the records, let me state that I have paid my TV license 5 years in advance. So that, of course, charity...
You say 5 years in advance?
5 years in advance,
You
yes.
must be a rich man.
No, not at all. Not at all. They say charity begins at home. So I would not have the moral authority to encourage others to pay if I do not set the tone. Let me indicate that unlike other jurisdictions where the enforcement for the payment of TV license is higher, ours is a bit lax. And you refer to the court ruling, which also hampers the ability of the corporation, GBC, to go after those who default. So I think the first point of call is to put in place an enforcement mechanism that compels people to pay. The second point, and I've made this point over and over in my interactions with the management of GBC, that people would have to be enticed through content development to pay. First of all, people have to watch your station in order to develop interest in your programming so that they are motivated to pay when you ask them to do so. If they find your programming stale and boring and unexciting, they may switch elsewhere and they may not find it necessary to pay any heed to admonitions to pay. So there must be an improvement in the content. Then technology that enables the organization to track who is watching, the number of eyeballs they have, and how they can get people like this to pay will be necessary to deploy. And then the ease of payments. How easy is it to pay? Thankfully, because of the advent of mobile money and money transfer, it's much easier. That's how I paid mine 5 years in advance. So I think that an amalgamation of these will help us overcome this difficulty. One of the ways that we've attempted to draw attention to begin with, you'll be surprised that there are people in this country who do not know that payment of TV license is compulsory and that there's actually legislation backing it. So through the magic being done by the GBC social media handles, more awareness is being created, and you find that there's greater excitement among the public. But again, it speaks to the point of content. Because of the way that they do their postings, it generates public interest. People follow what they do, and therefore their interest is picked. So a number of things are being done. But let me indicate that TV license alone would be woefully inadequate. The problems of GBC go beyond the payment of TV license. Indeed, at the last reckoning, the last report I saw indicated that they got just about 500,000 Ghana cedis or so from TV license payment. That is a drop in the ocean compared to what they need, compared to the challenges they have. They've had difficulties with payment of electricity, for instance. In some instances, I've had to intervene to get the Electricity Company of Ghana to restore electricity. They've had legacy debt issues. And then they've had general revenue shortfalls that make their operations difficult. So currently, we are in discussions with SIGA. Let me indicate that even though I have ministerial oversight, most of the reporting is done through SIGA because it's a state-owned enterprise. So in collaboration with SIGA, we are developing a roadmap towards transforming GBC and all the other state-owned media organizations, because all of them are suffering. Whereas the books of GNA may look impressive, they themselves have their own challenges. Same can be said for ISD. Even Graphic, which in the past used to lead the way in terms of their commercial viability, is having difficulties. But all of it is because of the way things have been done, which need to be changed. So in the coming weeks, we should present a report on this to Cabinet for consideration. Once it is approved, we will engage the organizations regarding a transformation program, and we'll be more than happy to report to Parliament on the way forward, so that together we can fashion out a model to save these organizations. Because the way things are going, if we do not do something, in the next 10 years, they will no longer be viable, given the stiff competition that they are receiving from competitors in the traditional media space and then social media. So it's a whole comprehensive program that we are developing. Yes, but on that note, let me encourage everybody to pay it. Even if it is 500,000, we could do with the money. We could do with the money. So they should keep it coming. Yes.
So, Minister, so thank you very much for the answer. And just to point out that, I mean, for instance, if you come to my constituency in Priso, and let's say you go to Intomim, where maybe, or let's say you get to Asakraka, where you would have less than 10% of these people on social media, it becomes difficult for them to know that by law you are supposed to pay your TV license. And I think that the GTV people should come out with some innovative means of reaching out to them. And I'm sure that if they were to go to ECG or to go to Ghana Water, for instance, we know that virtually everybody who pays ECG should have one TV or the other in his house. And so when they're able to get that database and they send an SMS or something to these people, I think it becomes easier for them to generate more money than concentrating on the political heads to pay. Who will do that? And also, you've paid 5 years. So what if the fees change next year? What do you do?
Well, it means that I have to.
Add
well,
on.
if the fee comes down,
You take your money.
Which it never does. Then they would owe me some reimbursement. If it goes up, I'll do a top up. But that was only to show that a lot more can be done.
Yes.
I think the point you raise is valid. In remote areas where social media penetration is not as high as urban centers, we need more aggressive marketing through programming. GBC itself, because people watch and because it has the widest reach, should be able, through their own programming, put in advertisements that remind people of it, remind people of the legal consequences of not paying and how useful it is when one pays. Through collaboration with the ISD, for instance, the ISD is present in just about every district in Ghana. So through the education campaigns, they are LED, with LED screens and all that. So they'll be able to go around and educate people on a wide number of issues, including the need for us to meet our civic obligations, one of which is the payment of TV license. But as I've indicated, TV license itself is inadequate. So even as we encourage people to pay, we need to improve content, and then we need to do more to sustain their commercial viability going forward. Yes.
Well, just to put on record, and I know that the administrator of GBC's Facebook page is watching. I'm not against their approach, because sometimes it can go very hard on people. So that
I think that what it is that, and I have had cause sometimes to engage them and find out why this new modus operandi. But they've explained that they create their content on the basis of what they think is trending. Social media is not exactly conservative, and sometimes the things that you need to do in order to gain traction and eyeballs may be unconventional, to the extent that it does not blur any ethical lines, it does not defame anybody or put out any offensive content. It may be out of the ordinary. It may not be in keeping with what we know GBT to be, but once it does not violate any known laws or offend people's sensibilities, it can pass, to the extent that it draws the attention that we want for GBC. I think that the experiment has worked. Even their followership has improved. They have over 600,000 followers as I speak to you. If you compare it to just about 2-3 years ago, it was quite low. And the director of finance is here. He can attest to that. So they've become perhaps the leading social media handle of any media organization in Ghana. It's an impressive achievement. We need to commend the team. There's a whole team here. There's not just one individual. There's a whole team that does the thinking and brainstorm over what to post. But I have always emphasized the need for them to stay within ethical boundaries so that they do not offend sensibilities of people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Minister, I also, as part of you retooling and strategizing to make GBC more competitive, I think you should look at their costs, especially to do with their assets, their buildings. You look at these private TV stations, they have just one small office, yet the content they put out there, you would think it's a whole universe. GTV has huge assets in terms of building. Maybe we should start thinking of what we can do to those buildings. Can they co-share? Can they, so that they can raise additional revenue in addition to the other revenue handles that they have? They can pair with other people, other TV agencies to reduce their costs. You go to GTV, and clearly, if you say you are going to renovate their buildings, it's going to cost you so much, yet their buildings are underutilized. Let me use Joy FM. You see where they have. Look at the content they put out there. You see City, GH1, the content they put out there. UTV, that's all they have, but the content they put out there. So one major thing that I believe you should look at is their cost, and the cost in terms of maintaining the buildings, and how to use these huge assets in the form of buildings and to leverage on to raise more revenue. That will also reduce the amount of money that government on its own will have to spend in bringing it to the par of the other media houses. So that is one thing I believe you should look at, because I get worried when I go there. I see their buildings and they need renovation, one, and two, they are not being used to the full. So, Minister, as part of the re-strategizing to bring it to that point where they make profits and also people watch, you should consider addressing the cost in the area of the huge buildings that they have. I mean, that will help. Yeah.
That is true. Indeed, it's one of the things that we've identified in terms of cutting costs, leveraging existing assets, and being able to recapitalize GBC and the other state-owned media organizations. It's precisely that. Some of the buildings were put out even in colonial times. So they were built to meet the exigencies of the day. Times have changed, and therefore you do not need that number of buildings in order to operate. With one tower, you can have all your departments operating from one building. Mr. Kofi also used to be with Joy FM, so he would know. I think he was integral to restructuring them the way that...
Was it by coincidence that I used Joy FM?
Well, I think that is a prime example, so it's allowed. So GBC itself has thought of doing things that way, and they have engaged me and governments on some of the things that can be done to ensure that we maximize their assets. They have vast tracts of land all over the country in valuable places. Indeed, the last time that government put in a dime into GBC, apart from paying the compensation of workers, was about 20 years ago when we bought them some 1 or 2 OB vans, if I'm not mistaken. Since then, they've not received anything from government. I have made it clear to them that government is not in a position to put in any further money. So they have to find their own money. One of the ways of doing that is using a very transparent, open process to leverage very valuable assets that they have currently in order to modernize, cut costs, and operate more efficiently. That is the only way that they are going to survive. So this plan is integral to the document that we are developing with SIGA. And in due course, we'll make it available to Parliament so that we can all chip in ideas on how to do this. But it's a very valid point that you raise, which we recognize here.
Minister, we're still waiting for Graphic Corporation, and they are not here. My issue had to do with, one, I realized that their current assets went up, meaning that they were not, the monies that they were supposed to collect from people in terms of payables to them, they were not, taking those monies. And in the offices around the ministries, they come and then they leave. I think they have some arrangements with them where they bring newspapers. I look at the quantum of newspapers they bring to these ministries, so that if all the ministries are paying, at least it should reflect positively in their current assets. Then you go and look at their current liabilities too. It is just shooting up. So, Minister, these two areas must be watched. They must have an aggressive revenue collection and strategy where they collect the monies from all of us when they offer their services. Because if we don't do that, no matter how government pumps money, if it is the same attitude, then we will not benefit the way we want to benefit. In 2022, their profits, there was a deficit of 4.3 million, and then it shoots up to 14 million in 2023. So it tells us there's a lot of tidying up that they need to do. They need to strengthen the management of their financials. And you have to help them, do that. Because in terms of the newspapers, I think they have a wide coverage, and they reach more customers than any other. And so if we don't help them in that regard, no matter how much you pump money into it, you still have this. So clearly you see that their current ratio is even coming down. So, Minister, I don't think we will be able to wait for them any longer. But what we want to tell you is that, please, let them go on an aggressive revenue mobilization.
All right. Honorable Chairperson, what I would do is that if it is permissible by you and if it's acceptable to you, I'll get them to present a document explaining each of the issues that you've raised comprehensively, so that you can study them and incorporate them in your report. That said, I have also had cause to engage them on that particular matter, because just like GBC, they themselves have been distressed. Indeed, a couple of months ago, they sent me an SOS letter requesting for some logistical support from government. There too, I had to indicate that the government did not have the appetite at the time to do so, and that they should look within to improve upon their revenue generation, improve upon profitability. But the newspaper business generally has suffered because of the advent of traditional media. So you notice that even the international newspaper organizations are switching to online contents, which compels you to subscribe. And through that, they generate it. Because people want news on the go. They can no longer wait for newspapers the day before. Now, Graphic and others, unless they get exclusives, always are late in the day. They lag behind the news. So they report what has already happened. And in these times, it is not particularly attractive to the news-consuming public. So that has affected their sales. They've also suffered from the general economic downturn that we experienced in the last few years. For instance, one of the issues they've decried the most was the cost of importing newsprint. When the dollar went up and the cedi depreciated, it really affected their ability to import newsprint. So in fact, I have on my desk a request from them to engage GRA and other organizations to do something about the duty payments because of how costly it was and how it was impacting their operations. They also have aging equipment. Indeed, the last time they got new equipment was in 2010. That printing machine is still fit for purpose, except that it requires some retrofitting. And they tell me that they will need about 800,000 euros to do so, to import the parts and bring it up to an acceptable level of operation. They are not in a position currently to raise that money. So we are still in discussion with them on how they can be assisted to do so. Once that is done, they will return to more operational efficiency. Because of that, they are losing significant clientele because they cannot meet production deadlines. The machine breaks down too often, and therefore it does not make them competitive. And mind you, they are operating in a very competitive environment. There are private printing houses that are doing better, who have less costs than they do. So I've asked them to tidy up their operations and ensure that they return to profitability, and particularly pursue an aggressive online content model that rivals any that you find around the globe. That is one way of opening up another revenue stream, because that is where people are, and that is where you should reach people with the news. That breaks constantly. I do not believe that going forward they will be competitive if they continue to remain the way they are in terms of their operations and in terms of the content that they will. But all in all, it is a very viable, potentially profitable business, which we need to support in every way we can. So I'm still in discussions with them to ensure that these problems are overcome. But like I indicated, I will get them to send you comprehensive responses to the issues highlighted in this document. Yeah.
The Minister, if government can put out a policy, you see all the budgets that we print, all the other printing reports, the reports that we bring to Parliament, if maybe between two government-owned companies, you can share it amongst them.
Sure.
Clearly, it will be a very good source of revenue for them, because almost every sitting, we get a lot of reports, and come next week, we're going to have the budget being read, and they will give us the budget documents. So maybe you should make a deliberate effort to push some business to graphic communication and any other government institution that is in the printing business. And for that one, they will be assured of some revenues that they can use to turn around, whilst government also looks at the bigger picture of equipping them properly. But I must say that they must pursue an aggressive revenue collection strategy, because these are the low-hanging fruits.
That is true.
You give us newspapers, you hardly come back for your money, or you don't pursue us aggressively for the monies, what is owed you. You know, the typical person will relax. So these are low-hanging fruits that I believe they can pick. And also, if you can make a deliberate effort policy that all our printing should go to maybe 2 or 3 selected.
And the Graphic Communication Group Limited, the GPAC, they should be able to handle this. They have capacity. They've shown, indeed, it will interest you to know that there's a Ghana publishing company that prints the budget document itself. And they've become so innovative that now they are able to put every MP's name on the budget. So everybody will receive a unique copy of the budget. And they will do it where it shows that they have the capacity to be innovative. They have the capacity to do new things. So they are more than happy to take on board. And let me indicate that I've engaged both the Minister for Education, under whose auspices significant printing occurs because of the need to print textbooks and exercise books for schools. Ghana Water Company Limited, all their bills, to the extent that they remain on paper, can be, the Ghana Publishing Company prints it. They can do same for ECG. They can do same for all other government agencies. Even if they get 20% of all government printing, it will stand them in very good stead to do very good business. Their professionalism is without
all
question.
these value books from GRA,
Absolutely.
the hospitals.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can make.
So it is something that, in fact, it's something that we've even discussed at cabinet. And there's general agreement that that should happen. So I'm engaging the finance minister so that in this budget, it is actually written into it as a precondition for releasing funding for some of these works, so that Graphic Communication Group and Ghana Publishing, they have the capacity to do it, and they will do it with excellence. I can guarantee that. Yeah.
Honorable Minister, we've waited, and I think we'll pull down the curtains. Thank you very much for. Thank you for coming to Public Accounts Committee.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman.
We are done.
Honorable Chairman, thank you very much.
Minister, respectfully, if you can sit and wait for and listen to our closing remarks. We began on the 27th, and today is the end of this particular sitting. And since you happen to be the last person here, we'll be grateful if you can just sit and then listen to us. So, esteemed colleagues of the Public Accounts Committee,